Hello, my name is Evan Williams. I'm author of the novel Ripples. And in examining the series of tragedies that befalls main character Ben Bramley and the rest of the Bramley family, beginning at age 8 for Ben, in answer to the question which of the tragedies would be the most significant, or if Ben had to choose, which would he count as the most devastating of all the tragedies that happened? And the answer to that would come easily to him. The answer to the worst tragedy would be the drowning of his younger brother, James. Ben and his grandmother had taken a secret fishing trip without telling the younger brother, without telling Ben's mother. And whenever James, the younger brother, found out about it, he was itching to go fishing, but none of the adults had time to take him as quickly as he wanted to go. So when Ben's gone off on his very first day of third grade, and James is left home with his mother, James's mother and James are taking a nap. Only James doesn't go to sleep. He waits for his mother to go to sleep, slips out of the house, goes running off to the Unalama River on the far side of the Bramley property in hopes of catching trout, and saying to himself, "Mama won't be mad whenever I come back with a bunch of trout." He attempts to follow the path of stepping stones out to the middle of the river to gain access to a large boulder in its center, a place where the Bramley family has often trout fished before. However, James's little legs aren't long enough to span the distance for the last rock or two, and he slips into the water, from which he's propelled downstream, and in spite of his best attempts at saving himself, he's drowned. And for Ben, that is what instigates every other tragedy that follows. And Ben, being a devout Baptist boy, very zealot, always wanting to do right, understanding sin, its penalties, being plagued with guilt for any infraction which he sees, because he's very much a literalist when it comes to the Bible, very much a fundamentalist, even more so than the adults around him. But his zeal for his religion has gone unchecked. And he finds that each and every tragedy which follows, somehow he can relate it back to James's death, for which Ben has assumed all responsibility. It's a guilt that Ben bears with him all his life, in spite of all the professional counseling he's had to help him get past it, to tell him, that it's not his fault. In spite of all the medications he's tried, any type of therapeutic means, none have been successful to rid him of that feeling of guilt, of responsibility for his brother's death and for every other tragedy that transpired. In other words, it's the ripple effect. That's what he sees it as, hence the title of the book. And pretty soon, more and more family members are included within those ripples as they stretch out and involve other people and ultimately impact the community. And so therefore, throughout the book, Ben is dealing with this and trying to somehow come to terms with the fact that he is not ultimately held accountable for everything that's happened. But in his case, that's easier said than done.